Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside the Coach's Office. I'm your host, Dan Murphy, along with my co host, Brian Barnes. And Brian, coming off last night, incredible game one of the ALDS between Detroit and Seattle, goes to extra innings, and Detroit comes away with the win. They steal game one.
Awesome, playoff baseball at its finest. Like you felt it early on, the intensity. Seattle, I think I saw the graphic during the game that they hadn't scored a run at a home playoff game since 2001. And so those people were pretty jacked, and that was an awesome atmosphere for everybody. And it was kind of what we talked about to be expected, right? Like we were talking about, we still think they're gonna be low scoring games, and definitely the advantage to the Tigers, we thought, in those low scoring games, because Seattle, for as good as their lineup is, like playoff baseball is just different, and the game is a little bit different, and it's obviously managed different come playoff time. And that's exactly what happened last night. So it was a lot of fun. I don't know what time you got to bed, man. I was pretty jacked until pretty late, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, after a game like that, you just watch 4 hours of intense adrenaline-filled baseball. It's hard to go to sleep even a late night like it was. But really, I want to start off with the start by Troy Melton. Obviously, the Tigers are going in. They couldn't go with any one of their big three starters in Skubal, Mize, or Flaherty. They were not going to be available due to the scheduling. So they go to Troy Melton. It was a little, I don't want to say controversial, but there was a little bit of discussion like, hey, do you want to go with a rookie here, game one? It's going to be an intense environment. You're going up against that high-powered lineup, and man, Melton goes 4 innings, 1 run. He looked a little bit shaky in that first inning, gave up some long fly balls that ended up being caught. And but man, he really settled in after that and gives them 4 strong innings.
Yeah, and you were the one, I think, that said it initially, right when the series against Cleveland ended. You were saying who's going to start game one, and you thought it was going to be Troy Melton. And
Yeah,
you know what? Give him a lot of credit, because he did get touched up a little bit in game two, and in a relief role, granted, right?
yeah,
And so, yeah, to you couldn't ask for anything like more, like knowing it was going to be a bullpen game, like 2 hits in 4 innings, just 1 run again against a pretty good lineup. That was just awesome. And we had talked about before, like if you're Seattle and you're their fan base and you're their brass, like the importance of winning game one, knowing what's coming today, and the way Troy Melton shut them down. I mean the Tigers, besides Rafael Montero, right? And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, but pitched really well, obviously, and huge. And so, I saw a tweet today about, talk about, could the Tigers, again, going back to the deadline, well, they probably would have had to given up Troy Belton, maybe, because he's a major league ready guy, and that's what, some teams, wanted. And this is why I think the Tigers didn't give him up.
yeah. This was actually the tweet you brought up from John Morosi. He talks about the Tigers' deadline moves and non-moves have been debated that will continue, but for the Tigers to do more without making McGonigal or Clark available, they probably would have needed to move Troy Melton. And then he obviously comes up huge here in game one. And not only was that incredibly huge for obviously for right now, for the present, but it's also incredibly encouraging for the future to have
Mhm.
Troy Melton probably be a mainstay in the rotation from here on out. And you look into next year when you're not going to have Jackson Jobe because he's going to be out all next year with Tommy John. Troy Melton's going to be able to step right into that rotation and be somebody you can trust going forward for a long time now.
Yeah, no doubt. And like teams want to acquire major league ready talent, and not just Troy Melton, like I'm sure we'll talk about too. Kyder Montero getting a save. And I think that's something I
Yeah,
know I had mentioned before the playoffs started. The games are managed differently, and a lot of starters would get bullpen work, right? But I did not see him being the guy. And obviously that's how it worked out with an extra inning situation. But that's another guy. Like, who knows if his name came up in trade talks, and the guy just
yeah.
saved game one of the ALDS, right? So yeah, just massive.
Yeah. So, Melton did give up the home run to Julio Rodriguez, who, man, he looks like he's just going to be a guy that's going to be an absolute pain this whole series. Man, every time he came up, he had great at bats and he had a great game. He had the all
Hmm.
Seattle's RBIs in this game, but obviously gives them the 1-0 lead. But the next inning, Kerry Carpenter, man, an absolute bomb, no doubter. to put the Tigers up 2-1. And interesting, enough with George Kirby, the starter for Seattle. Um, Carpenter was kind of the one guy that really kind of owned him throughout his career. Was 4 for 8, all four being home runs going into this game. And you could question Dan Wilson from Seattle, the manager, the decision to stick with Kirby. He had been, going pitch for pitch with Melton. He had a shutout going into that inning. But that could have been a time where, like, hey, if it's the regular season, no doubt you stick with Kirby, right? That's an obvious decision. You let him get the opportunity to pitch to Carpenter. If it's a regular season game, like, hey, you got to get over this hump. You can't let this guy own you forever. You got to try to pitch to him in a regular season game. Yeah. In a playoff game, in that moment, that's a decision where I think if Hinch was in those shoes, I think Hinch is making that move and going to Spire out of the bullpen to face Carpenter. Instead, Wilson sticks with Kirby, gives him the opportunity to face Carpenter, and Carpenter makes him pay.
Well, first base was open too, and that's a
pitched around him.
He could have, and like I'm sure we'll talk about the strike zone at some point, but the pitch before, it was a ball, right? But it was borderline, and so I think I want to say Kirby was being kind of careful, but like I'm surprised more than anything, not that he wasn't pulled, but that they just didn't walk him. Like, first base is open, right? Riley Green is, I mean, ironically, he had a decent series against Cleveland and he was 2 for 5 yesterday. But with that history, but he didn't have that history that Carpenter did, right? So that's why I was surprised they didn't walk him and just take their chances with Riley Green. And I had listened to a couple other shows before the series, and they had talked about Dan Wilson and his decision making and how much like he hadn't done it in the playoffs yet, right? And there were some end of game situations that he's been criticized of. And granted, this wasn't end of game, but you just know when runs are at a premium like that, and just the numbers are screaming, don't pitch to Kerry Carpenter. And he let it happen, and he got burned. And unfortunately, those mistakes are magnified as a manager in the playoffs.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this one up. This was a tweet from a Mariner podcast, Marine Layer podcast. And they're just talking about the situation. Say Kirby, third time through the order, throughout his career or throughout the season, had a 929 OPS. So you're already looking at that beginning. He's going a third time through the order, and Kerry Carpenter has destroyed him. And he says, I know Kirby was dealing, but sorry, man, this is the playoffs and one game. That's where Kirby has to come out of the game for Gabe Spire in that situation.
And were you surprised even like the pitch, like Kerry Carpenter is a high fastball hitter, and I know he had gotten those high strikes throughout the game, but I still like if you're gonna, to me, like if you're gonna get beat by Kerry Carpenter, like throw a ball in the dirt, get him to chase it or something. You know what I mean? I just can't believe that entire thing. I think is baffling. First, that you're right, they didn't pull him. Second, I was thinking like they would have just walked him. And third, high fastball where Kerry Carpenter lives, and he's tagged Kirby before. So all of it, a little bit. If I was a Mariners fan, I'd be pulling my hair out.
Yeah, the pitch selection is questionable, and also it reminds me of the changeup that Dingler got in Game 3 against Cleveland.
Sure,
like Dingler can't catch the fastball right now.
Yeah,
I give him credit, man. He is. I think he's just exhausted with how much
catchers.
The stretch this season. He's a catcher. I mean, his number one priority is handling, the pitching staff, which he has done a fantastic job at that. But he can't catch the fastball right now. And for Cleveland to give him a changeup in that situation in Game 3 that gave the Tigers the lead at the time, that 2-1 lead, really kind of changed that whole game into the Tigers' favor. And this was a similar situation, just a really questionable pitch selection to Carpenter there. And Carpenter, like I said, Carpenter made him pay.
I mean, granted, Kirby had 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, he was dealing. I mean? So he was dominant, and that's why it's tough. It's tough to make that decision when the guy's throwing a shutout.
Yeah,
to make that decision to pull him. But in a playoff game, you got
no doubt. That's those moments where matchups matter. You know what I mean? And that's why managers play those matchups as much as you can. And to let that happen, like I said, if I was a Mariners fan, I'd be pretty disappointed. Especially again, like you have a lead. Granted, you figured it was going to be a low scoring game. You get another run or two later. Okay, like you survive Game 1, knowing what's coming today. That's got to be rough. And I just felt like, did you feel like after that Kerry Carpenter bomb? Again, I'm not, as you know, I say this every time, I'm not a big momentum guy, but it was a little deflating. Like I felt it, like watching the game felt for the Mariners fans, just felt like deflating. Like they were jacked up, and then they're like, oh, it just felt deflating to
Yeah,
me.
I mean, if you're a Mariner fan, you go into that game and you're going Kirby against Melton. You think you got
No doubt.
definitely have the edge
Has
in
to.
this game, and you're also in the back of your mind knowing that you're not going to have the edge in game two when Scubo's
No,
going. So you're
no.
thinking you got to at least take a pretty good lead in these first 5 innings or so when you got Kirby versus Melton, and basically the two pitchers come out and the Tigers have the lead. So if you're a Seattle
Hmm.
fan, you got to be thinking, oh man, we could be in trouble here already 5 innings into this series, but we had to win those first 5 innings and get the lead. And not only do I not have the lead, but we're trailing now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like I was watching, Cubs Brewers a little bit earlier with one of my girls, and the Cubs Matt Boyd got tagged early, right? I don't think he made it out of the first. And if you were a Mariners fan, you were thinking, "Oh man, this lineup, like you said, is going to tear up Melton." Like if that happens, and I know it was a bullpen day, but like, I don't think AJ Hinch, no manager wants to go like that early to your bullpen. Like you're in trouble the rest of the series. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like you're just like, all right, we're not coming back from this game. So I think if like you said, if Melton's off or if he was like he was the other night in Cleveland, like this could have been over quickly. Like you could have had a Jake Rogers sighting on the mound because
Yeah.
well, I mean, I'm kidding, right? But like just could have gotten really bad. And again,
Well,
like
you look back at game one of the ALDS last year against Cleveland, and Olson got lit up early.
yeah, yeah.
Right, and they kind of set the tone for the rest of the series, and then it was over before, almost felt like it was over before it got started. It was just an
Yep.
absolute blow up in the first 2 innings.
Yep.
So for Melton to come in, he felt like, oh man, I hope it's not another situation like last year against Cleveland. And man, I can't say it enough how huge of a start that was to give him those innings to start the game.
I wonder too, like the layoff, right? The Mariners had the
Yeah,
layoff, and that's always talked about. I wonder how much that affected them as well. You never know. But like I'm curious what their, I don't have it in front of me, Dan. I'm sure we could find it. What their, oh yes, I do. Runners in scoring position. Granted, they only had four opportunities and they were one for
yeah.
four. Five guys left on base, which again, the Tigers, 11 guys in scoring position. But I wonder, I know, 2 for 11, right? But I wonder, like how many of these guys, like somebody like a Rosarena is a dude, like he's had playoff history, and Suarez has had some playoff history. So they do have playoff history. So I mean, going back to it, I talked about it, like the clutch situations. I don't know if that's a real thing or a stat, and some people say it's real, some it's not. But like, man, like things are different in the playoffs. It just is. And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I'm sure I don't think their hitters are going to be afraid of school today. Like you said, we talked about how they around the trade deadline, just before the trade deadline or the All Star break. And the All Star break is when they play. They hit them pretty hard, and they hit them pretty
Yeah.
well in Detroit. So I don't think they're afraid of that. But yeah,
They won both games against Schuylkill during
yeah,
the season.
right,
They won both of them.
yeah.
That we
The
talked about
first
the
one,
first one in Seattle,
yep,
and that's so
low
long ago,
score,
almost 6 months
yep,
ago now.
yeah,
But
yep,
they did beat them. It was more
hmm
the arrow from Cole Keith
yeah,
and
yeah,
what happened there. That Schuylkill did pitch a pretty good game, but to Seattle's credit, they did win that game. And they won,
hmm
and they obviously won back here in Comerica when they played. So they're not going to be scared, like you said. They know they're going to have confidence knowing that they've beaten Schuylkill twice. Um, but also that's in Schuylkill's mind too.
for sure,
We
yeah,
saw what happened.
no, yeah,
When I talked about, before the Cleveland series, I'm like, you don't think all the stuff that would happen against Cleveland is in Scooble's mind? Like he's going to have a little. I know what you say. Well, every game's big. This is a playoff game. It's going to be big anyways.
yeah,
But man, they're human beings. Like there's a
right.
little bit, of a competitive edge to that when you know a team's gotten you a little bit. And we saw what happened in Game 1 in Cleveland. One of the best performances we've ever seen. So it's going to be incredible to see what he can do tonight against
Yeah,
Seattle.
no, I agree with that. And um, change pace a little bit. It's funny. We said we expected low scoring games, but we also said though, like I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers backs get hot. And it didn't happen last night. Obviously they struck out 16 times,
16
which is
times.
incredible. I
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that I do feel like they're gonna go off at some point in this series. I don't think every game's gonna be like it was last night. I mean, as a fan, it was both fun and excruciating to go through that type of game
Yeah.
last night. But I still think like especially now, like we talked about how we think the series is gonna play out. I I think I think the Tigers are winning the series. As I'm sitting here right now, I'm certain of that.
Yeah.
I feel really good.
Yeah, I saw an interesting tweet that kind of really put it home for me. Is over the next four games of this series, it's either a Scoopel start or it's a home game for
Mm-hmm.
Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So and they're up 1-0. They only need to win two more, two of the next four, and you're feeling. I mean, every game you're feeling good because you either got Scoopel or you're at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard
Yes.
not to be incredibly confident after
Correct.
getting that game one win.
Correct. I'm not. I saw somewhere today, and you can find it because you have Twitter in front of you. I think the Tigers are the betting favorite in the American League now. Oh,
Yes, I
you know.
actually got
So
that. I got that right here.
you know.
Yeah, well, I'm actually surprised by this a little bit because I thought Toronto, especially after the way they're the one seed, and after the way they played yesterday and just
Yeah.
smoked New York,
Like
I thought they would be the betting favorite. But
Bo Bichette's not healthy, right? Like he's not playing in that series. I don't think I saw. Or am I seeing old information? I thought.
I don't know. I'll be honest, I
I'm
didn't
looking.
catch that. There was
Yeah,
so
he's
much going
off.
on yesterday. I was at
Yeah,
college
yeah.
football. That
Oh, it's
3:30
great.
window was wild.
Oh yeah.
But
He
I mean, I
yeah.
just said Toronto's took it to New York in game
They
one.
did.
They're the
They
one
did.
seed.
They
I am
did. Yeah.
surprised they're not the betting favorite. But
Yeah. Bo Bichette is off the playoff roster or the ALDS roster because of his knee
oh,
situation.
okay.
But like but yeah, I like okay, during the regular season when the Tigers were the first to 20 wins, 30 wins, 40 wins, 50 wins, whatever it was, right? You still, and we talked about this, like, they don't have that superstar. But again, like situational hitting, situational pitching matters. And Zach McKinstry last night, a great example. He's 0 for 11 in the series, and he gets the game-winning hit. Yeah, it's those type of things that win baseball games. When you don't have that superstar talent, and that it has to continue. Gleyber Torres hasn't had a good playoff at all in Cleveland or
Yeah, he was
yesterday.
really
So
cold down the stretch too,
really cold down
Torres.
the stretch, right? So I mean, I'm still hoping on that just like the law of averages. Like I know we talked about water finding its level and all that, but like no, I don't expect them to be pre All-Star game hitting like they were, but I still think one of these games are going to break out.
I agree with you at
Mhm.
some point. I don't think it's going to be tonight. I'll be honest. But I think one of those games at Comerica is going to be one of those games where they finally break out. Maybe game three.
And
Um,
Dan, I think it would be pretty funny, ironic for you is I know you got your playoff tickets for game 4, but
they
like what if
they
the Tigers sweep? I mean, we'd be happy, but that would be
Yeah, yeah. If anybody follows us on Facebook or Michigan Sports Entertainment page, I kind of got into it a little bit with how the Tigers are handling refunds when it comes to tickets and that. So I joke with my wife Laura that it's kind of like we just got a bank right now. We're putting money in the bank in the Tigers bank because they don't refund you until they're eliminated.
oh
So if
jeez.
they lose this game, I'm gonna have another game of tickets or another tickets that I need to refund it. I'm just putting money in the bank that I'm gonna get when the
That's
Tigers
funny.
eventually, hopefully not until late
Yeah.
October, early November in the World Series. I'll get
Jeez.
my money back. But
That's
just
funny.
wild, just the whole thing. I don't want to get it all into it in the podcast, but
Sure.
just a bizarre thing where maybe we'll just keep going the whole playoffs. I'll just keep getting games that I don't get to go
Yeah.
to.
That's too funny, dude.
But as long as the Tigers keep winning, I don't
Right.
care. I don't care.
Right.
Um,
Uh
so Brian, I just want to circle back, kind of continue just kind of breaking down how the game went down and into the fifth inning, or excuse me, the bottom of the sixth inning, excuse me. So Hinch goes to Rafael Montero.
mhm.
It's 2-1 game, and you're protecting the lead, and you're facing the top of the order. And I just thought this was a really questionable decision by Hinch here to go to Montero in this situation. Um, hadn't really pitched much. I don't know if he pitched at all against Cleveland, to be honest.
He did
And
not.
this seemed like just such a huge situation. A one-run game, you're going to the top of the order. I really, really questioned it beforehand. And then, Montero gives up. Let's see, Montero gives up the walk to Rosarena after being in an 0-2 count, and then a Raleigh single, and then Rodriguez singles after that. And you're thinking, man, oh man, there was an opportunity here, and he kind of just threw it away by bringing in Montero, and he can't even get an out. Can't even get an out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess the question for me would be I would be curious. I don't know if that came up in a press conference and anybody asked AJ Hinch, but was that your plan going into it all along? To use Montero in like those bridge innings to get to
Yeah.
Finnegan and to get to Will Vest, right? Because I know we were texting back and forth and you really wanted Finnegan right there, or you were thinking Finnegan right there. But I wonder, I don't have it in front of me going back. how what was the earliest Finnegan's been in a game? Because obviously he got
He came in early in the Cleveland series. That's why I
okay.
brought it up.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why I was in my mind
Then
like, okay, this would be a Finnegan spot because he did a similar situation in the
sh-
Cleveland series.
sure, that makes sense. And then still though, like I don't know how many innings he would expect to go in the fifth and sixth.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? And then at some point there has to be that bridge to Will Vest. And so yeah, it didn't you're right. It's questionable, it didn't work. But I mean he's on the roster for a reason, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? You gotta play him. I
Deadline
didn't
pickup.
yeah, I mean he was he kind of was. Yeah. And I don't know like I don't know what his splits were against the top of the Mariners lineup. Either way, you're right. It didn't work out, and that's a scenario where Hinch deserves to get questioned. Because we were all wondering the same thing. But yeah, because I don't think he got an
But
out.
yeah, he did not get an out.
He
So he
didn't get an
faced a
out.
minimum of three batters, walk, single,
Hmm.
gives up the lead. And then Holtley, so now Holton comes in two out, or excuse me, no out situation with two on, first and second, and gets the huge double play, phenomenal play by Baez
Yeah,
to get the tag and the throw out at first. They did try to review it and try to question whether he had the ball in his glove, but
which was a
it
weird
was
review.
incorrect.
Did you feel that
Yeah,
same way? Like everybody I'm watching, I'm like, there's no doubt he's out. Like there's no.
it seemed obvious, but I guess the question was if the ball is disconnected from the glove and he tags him with the glove, it doesn't
It,
count as a tag.
it almost felt like a desperate
Yeah,
why not, hey, we're desperate, let's try, to me anyway, from watching.
yeah.
Yeah, unless they had
And
a
then
different
Holton
camera
gets
view.
the
Hmm.
line out, the next batter with the runner on third. Just a phenomenal job by Holton and phenomenal job by Baez too. I mean, it was just a absolutely huge double play. And you talked about Holton being a big key going into the playoffs. He had his ups and downs throughout the season, but he really started to come on down the stretch, and he knew he was going to be a huge part of this bullpen as the one of the few dominant left-handers that they had out of that pen. And man, he's been huge in this playoffs. He
Yeah,
was huge last night.
you've been high on him for a while, and you're right, because remember last year again, he got some MVP votes or some Cy Young votes, I think,
He
for
got one. He got one.
one.
I think it was an MVP. I think it was a Cy Young vote that
It
he
might have
got.
been, yeah, but still, like people were recognized what he was doing, and so yeah, massively huge. And again, I'm curious. I mean, I would have loved to have asked a question to AJ Hinch. Was that the plan all along to get Montero, in those middle innings, that bridge inning, so to speak, to see, but because he's going to have to be used, right? I mean, he's gonna throughout the series, he's still going to have to be used, and you got to see what he does, but to your point, maybe he gets inserted when when they're going against the bottom of the Mariners order instead of
Yeah,
those guys.
yeah,
So
yeah. The 1 through 6 is terrifying,
it
but you
is,
get
and
to
you
the
know what's
bottom of the order. The bottom of the order is not good at
agreed.
all. So you can
Agreed.
strategize with
Yeah,
that and figure out when you can sneak a guy in to get a couple outs within their order. But that 1 through 6 is brutal.
and
Just brutal.
it's funny. Like it was hammered home last night and on Twitter and in the news. Like Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez are the only guys that got hits for the Mariners. Granted, they got
Yeah.
three each, right? But like, yeah, not a lot of fear the rest of the lineup. And what the Tigers did besides Rodriguez's home run is I think Cal Raleigh had three singles. Like that's exactly what you want. You know what I mean? For a guy that hit 60 bombs, you're hitting singles, we're good. And so yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and we talked about find a way to bridge through this game. The bullpen obviously becomes a battle of bullpens after
Mm,
that. After Seattle ties it, and the Tigers are able to get an inning from Canely, which was huge. I was a little bit surprised that he came in, but he looked really good. Mixing up his changeup and his fastball. It really hasn't looked that good in a while. Kind of looked like the first half Canely that we had seen, whose changeup was just almost unhittable. And then Finnegan came in, got an inning, and then got 2 innings out of Vest. And Hinch, I actually saw the press conference. Hinch talked about it. He said, I was only planning on going 1 inning with Vest, but because he got out of that inning so quickly,
hmm.
I think only 8 pitches, he was able to go a second inning, which was huge for him.
I'm curious if we could look and see how much in the non-Scooble starts do the Tigers utilize their bullpen, and how many innings and how many pitches they throw. And I say that because we talk about how it's a long season, and we highlight the hitters when they have their struggles, right? Hey, it's a grind, they're not 100%, it's hot out there. Well, pitchers too, like when they throw a lot, like and their mechanics are off, right? And their velocity is going to be down. Like that's going to affect them too. And so to your point about Tommy Canley, like he did look good, and you're right. Maybe he is. They all have that second wind right now when it matters most. You know.
So yeah, so just huge for the bullpen. Obviously was highly criticized down the stretch throughout the collapse, and justifiably so. But they've come up huge. I mean, they had the one Melton didn't pitch well in Game 2 in Cleveland, but outside of that, the bullpen has been really, really strong in this playoffs to date.
Yeah, and
Um,
like you said, difference maker. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
now you have confidence in those guys. The one guy I guess you maybe aren't feeling great about is Rafael Montero.
Sure,
So
sure.
we'll see how he gets used going forward now.
But you're
'Cause
thinking,
I
I
can't
think
imagine that he has a whole ton of confidence in him right now. So maybe it's a situation where if there's a big lead or if they're down by a bunch, maybe that's where you get him into a game. But outside
well,
of that, I can't imagine he's used in a high
no.
leverage situation.
Well, look at it this too. If you're AJ Hinch thinking this, so yesterday you got. I mean, it wasn't an official inning from Montero, but he pitched to three batters. Holton got an inning, Canley an inning, Finnegan an inning, Vest two, and Montero one. Right, so they all threw yesterday. I think, is it fair to say like, hey, you're expecting Skubal to at least go seven, at least seven,
Yeah, I think he
right?
goes. This might be the
It
most pitches he's thrown in a game. I bet you
Yeah.
tonight.
So let's say at least seven. Like you, in theory, all these guys, we don't need to throw any of these guys.
Yeah.
Potentially, if you know what I mean, maybe Herder gets an inning here.
Well, I
And
think
what,
he
but
would. I don't know. I would. It's tough to say if Vest will be available because he didn't throw a ton of pitches,
no,
even though he went 2 innings.
correct.
So that's almost like a traditional one inning
Cor-
start. He
Yep.
should be okay.
Yep.
And then Finnegan, I think, only went one,
Yep.
and you got Canley and Holton didn't
How
pitch that much either. So those guys should all still be good. Those are
available?
your
Yeah, I'm
top
just,
top guys. So
but I'm saying like, how great is it that like, like you in theory, he might not need any. You're not going to need any bridge guys, you would think, right? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you only need
you're
to
not gonna. You're
throw.
probably not. You're naming gonna need Canley. You're probably not gonna
No
need
doubt.
Monteros.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Throw one or two of those guys, like in the eighth and ninth, and then you're good. Like if you'd say Finnegan invest eight and nine, boom, right? Your
yeah.
typical go seven,
And Holton
set
if you
up
need it.
closer.
If you want to go with
Holton if you
someone
need it.
hitters, yeah.
Yeah, Holton if you need it. But that's awesome. Like again, that's why
Yeah,
game
they're
one was
sitting pretty.
so.
Yeah,
No,
they're
game
sitting
one is
pretty.
so big, so big.
So
Yeah.
let's just go into the top of the 11th, where the Tigers get the game winning run. Torkelson draws a huge walk, is able to advance on a wild pitch. Perez and Dingler then strike out. So you're thinking, oh man, they're going to blow this opportunity. But then McKinstry comes out, gets the 2-out RBI single, a little 74 mile per hour dribbler through the middle. But it's the perfect hit because you got
Hmm.
Torkelson running from second, and he's able to get home easily because it's just kind of a slow dribbler through the infield. And McKinstry's the hero to
Yep.
get the game winning hit.
Hit them where they ain't, man. And you know what? Sometimes you need, I don't want to say luck, but like the Mariners, what happened in that inning? They walked the leadoff guy and a wild pitch to put him in scoring position. Like if neither of those things happen, like they're playing into the 12th. And McKinstry doesn't even have that at bat with a chance to, with a single win the game or take the lead for them to go ahead. So
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, you can't minimize that Seattle. I don't want to say gave the game, but their mistakes absolutely led to the Tigers winning this game. And to the Tigers'
Yeah.
credit,
And
they did.
it's funny you talk
Yeah.
about, sometimes you get a little bit of luck. Like the 10th inning, Baez hits a rocket to third that gets
Oh,
caught.
yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
forget who it was. Maybe you remember Brian, but there was a rocket hit to the
The
pitcher
pitcher,
Nunez,
I
who
think. Yeah.
I
Who
think
was it?
was it Meadows? Maybe it was
It
Meadows.
might have been Meadows.
Um,
Yeah, Meadows tagged one. Baez tagged one. Yeah, Torres had a good
yeah,
swing in the 10th. I remember. Yeah, it was like, what are you doing?
yeah, just hitting
Right? Like,
rockets. I think they were 100
yeah,
miles an hour off the bat, and they
that's
got caught.
baseball.
And
And
then
then
the
the
game
one
winner
hit
is
the.
McKinstry's
Mm,
74
mm.
mile per hour dribbler.
Yep.
It's
It's
baseball, man.
wild. That is
It's
baseball.
baseball.
But
And then
yeah.
yeah, and then to finish it off, obviously, I'm thinking at the time because McKinstry ends up stealing second, and I'm
Mm.
thinking, man, it would be
Uh,
really nice to get him home, man, because you don't have any of your high leverage guys to go to for the bottom of the 11th. You've used them all up. You're not going to go back to Vest for a third inning. And I heard Hinch saying Vest was trying to politic his way to get
mm.
in, but Vest didn't want him. He's probably thinking, man, I'm going to need you in game
Yep.
two potentially.
Mm.
If I
Hmm.
use you for a third inning, there's definitely no way I'm going to get you for game two. So he impressed. I don't know how many times Fest has ever gone 3 innings, in that
Right.
situation. So long story short, you got to go to Kiter Montero here and against the top of the order with a run on lead. And obviously, I think we were all a little nervous going to that inning. And he didn't necessarily have his best stuff or dominating stuff by any means. There was a couple of meatballs that he had thrown, but Seattle, popped them up, and you get Rodriguez did get the single, but Montero, man, was able to get the job done and get the save here.
Quite impressive. And again, like I don't think anybody in their right mind thought he'd have been the guy to finish it off. But
Yeah,
again, like we said though, it was extra innings, and you'd gone through a lot of guys already. And so we talked about before the series, there's going to be some starters potentially getting relief innings as it is. But I didn't realize. I thought Montero, when they said he was only 25 years old, I thought he was a little bit older than that. Actually,
yeah.
I didn't. He's still a pretty young guy. So in that situation, limiting the Mariners to just the Rodriguez single. I think it was Rodriguez that was 2 outs. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic job, and quite impressive. And
He did have that one to Raleigh. Raleigh pops up on the
oh
first pitch, and I think it was a changeup that just went
yeah,
right over the middle of the plate, and Raleigh he
missed
just
it.
missed it. He
He
just
just
straight up
missed it.
missed it. The
He had missed
potential
it.
MVP, 60 home run guy, just missed it and
Yep.
popped it up to third to McKinstry. Obviously a ginormous out, and
Mhm.
considering the pitch that was not where he wanted it to go by any means to Raleigh, and Raleigh just missed it. And it kind of goes back to the obviously they played a full game and played 11th inning, but still, they hadn't played in a week.
No,
And you think,
that's
if that's mid-season form Raleigh, that is
no doubt.
450 feet probably.
Yeah,
But here, man, he pops it up.
if you're Seattle, I mean, granted, you don't want to be down, but you're going in your last at bat. Those guys are coming up, and you're hitting against Montero. You're thinking, all right, we're going to score. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had this conversation yesterday about Cal Raleigh and how soon does he get moved to first base and DH? Because if you're that good of a hitter, like he's not catching. You know what I'm saying, for the rest of his
Yeah.
career. You know what I mean? So that popped. You saying he might have, like, it was a long game. That made me thinking of that a
Yeah, I
little
didn't think
bit.
about
But
that. Yeah, too. 11 innings of
hmm
catching. Yeah, they
yeah,
could have
yeah.
they could
Like
have played a factor too.
I wonder if he DHs a series. To be honest with you, that'd be interesting. But
Yeah.
it's funny. Like, we you talked about Melton being the starter. I think that potentially could have easily been flipped. Like Montero could have started like the bullpen game, and
Yeah, I
Melton could have
thought that was
been
going
in
to be
this.
kind of like a piggyback type start,
Hmm.
where one
Mm,
goes three, another goes three, or they try to,
yeah,
get through 5 innings with the two of them combined. But
yeah.
Melton
This
pitched so well. You're able to get four out of them and
Yeah,
kind of
like
get
this.
there.
I don't think this was at all a situation where Montero was shocked to go in. I mean, it's not like, hey, by the way, we're about to win
No,
game one. We
no.
need you. So obviously these conversations and thoughts were happening. But yeah, I mean, AJ Hinch pushed the right button.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So again, Detroit, the kind of there's people talking about, how can you say it was stolen? And Hinch actually said, like, we didn't. The first question was, hey, you got stole game one, and he's like, we didn't steal it; it was earned. And I
It,
thought that was a
yeah.
pretty good quote. But I'm gonna say, like, to get the game-winning hit on a 74 mile per
Mhm.
hour dribbler, and to have Kiter Montero get the save with a run save going against the top of the order and the bottom of the 11th, I'm gonna say you stole that one. Like,
Yeah.
you came in and you stole it. It was not a game you were expected to get. You went toe to toe for them, and you made the plays that needed to be made. But man, you got it. At the end of the
They
day,
did.
whatever word you want to use, they
Yep.
won. They won the
And
game.
and I think sometimes we as fans and people in the media, like they like to hype up like what they don't know or the unknown or what they haven't seen. And the Mariners, all we talked about, oh, their lineup is awesome, and it is awesome, and they're really good and whatnot. And oh, the Tigers, they're still the team that blew that 15 and a half game lead. But like we talked about, like it doesn't matter anymore. Like they made the playoffs. Like they were
It
in.
doesn't.
They didn't
Yeah.
care about that last game of the regular the winning the division. They could have easily played their dudes and like win the division. And okay, it didn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. They're in. Like they're right there with Seattle for and I think they're the favorite now. Going forward, they're the Tigers. I fully expect them to win this series.
I did too. I mean, and obviously Vegas agrees. I'm shocked at
Hmm.
the odds on favorite, but I thought when I first saw the tweet, I thought it was just about the series. And I thought, oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they said it was actually the American League. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
really? I was really surprised by that. But
So
maybe Vegas feels like, hey, Detroit is back to playing what they were the first 100 games and what they did beginning of August last year through August of this year, where they
I
were the
feel.
best team of baseball for an entire year.
Don't you think they seem to play better when they're loose and they're up against it and they're not like the favorite, like closing it? It
And
just
you're not
seems
playing the Guardians
right. Yeah,
for it
right.
feels like
Yeah,
every
yes,
game
yeah.
down the
That
stretch.
is
That
that.
your arch
Yeah,
nemesis, the team that
yeah.
just has your
Mm-hmm.
number. Yeah, and not
Mm-hmm.
having to go against them helps a lot too.
For sure. Yep, for sure.
So Brian, just to kind of wrap this up, what are your feeling? I know you think they're going to win this series, but what your original prediction was Detroit in five.
Yep.
Are you still kind of sticking with that?
No, I'm not. I think it's over in Detroit. I think
Yeah.
it's I dare say they're gonna sweep them? Kind of do. I kind of do. I think I kind of do. I do. I think the Tigers. I'm gonna
I
say
think this
Tigers
is
in
still
three.
gonna. I think this is still gonna go five. I think a lot of Tiger fans are getting a little bit overconfident right now. I think Game One might have been a lot of due to rest for Seattle, and I think they're going to bounce back.
But with
Question is, can
that,
they do? But the problem is for them, they got to go against Scooball though
yeah. So
tonight.
with that though, so the Tigers, okay, they won Thursday. They partied a little bit on Thursday, got on a flight across the country to play a game on Saturday. I mean, it's not like those dudes were like, it's whatever. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
I know
whatever.
that's true too.
Yeah,
That's
I
true
just
too.
like because there's been teams historically who have been on that break, right, and haven't played in a while, and then they come in and they're still the best team and they go like, I don't know, maybe the Mariners tag school tonight. I doubt it though. Like 2-0. Okay, if it gets to 2-0, you still think it's going five. Beyond like I don't. I don't.
I
I
don't
think
know.
it.
I don't know how confident I am. Mize Flaherty going against that lineup. I don't
I
know.
I s-
I
I'm not afraid of the Mariners staff anymore.
I'm still
Brian
afraid of
Wu's
that one
out
through six. I'm sorry. I
first.
think I think there were some meatballs that they just missed. There was some deep fly balls that just missed being home runs. I think they're gonna get their shots, man. I still believe that. But man, have an ace tonight,
Mm-hmm.
the best in the world.
Yep.
Uh, it's tough for me to say that it's still going to go five. I guess my confidence level is that they're going to win this series. I'm fully confident. But it's nice to know, like, if this does go five, you're going to have Scooble at the
Yeah,
end of
for
the
sure.
line.
For sure. For sure. No, I agree. And hey, Tigers in five or Tigers in three, that's fine.
I don't
Right?
care.
Like,
Just
you
Tigers,
know what I
just
mean?
win the
Just
thing
finish
and
it.
everything
Yeah.
else. Yes.
Just finish it. But if it's gonna be games, continue to be games like it was last night, low scoring game, that favors the Tigers. It just does. Those type of games I think are gonna favor the Tigers. Because they've been playing like
I
that
think
for a
it's
long
pretty
time.
evenly matched, but like if it goes into a battle of the bullpens, I think
I, I think if it's a
I don't know. I think right
slugfest,
now I feel like they're evenly matched. I
okay,
do. I think it's
slugfest, the Mariners have better guys that can drive in runs. If it's a slugfest, I don't know if they're going to be a slugfest. I don't.
yeah.
I
I don't know.
don't. So anyway, we'll
We
see.
shall see.
We
But the
shall
main
see.
thing is we both think the Tigers are going to win this series. Now
We do.
that game flipped it for me. I
Hmm.
did not think that the Tigers were going to win that game. I thought if they won that, man, they took a complete stranglehold on the series, and
Yep.
that's what they did last night. Man, it was an absolute battle, absolute classic, and Detroit goes in and takes game one, and man, game two tonight. Tarek Skubal on the mound against Castillo. So we'll see what happens. But man, they're very well could be go up 2-0 coming back to Comerica on Tuesday, and that is
Yeah.
going to be a madhouse,
Rocking.
at Comerica on Tuesday. So we're looking
Rocking.
forward to it. Just real quick, Brian, we'll wrap up this podcast. Just a real quick segment on the Lions
Hmm.
going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals today. I believe last I saw that the Detroit was a 10.5-point favorite. Let's just real quick, what are your thoughts going into this game, and what's your prediction?
Oh, I think it's gonna be an ass whooping. Like I don't. I think the Bengals are in shambles. Zach Taylor. I don't see him having a job much longer. I think it's obvious how important Joe Burrow was to that
Yeah,
team and organization. They are a mess, which is killing me because Jamar Chase was my first pick in fantasy football. But yeah, I don't see like all the reports that you're seeing, like on the news and on Twitter and stuff. The amount of Lions fans in Cincinnati, taking
yeah,
over
it's
the
gonna feel like a
bars and
home game.
everything last night. It's gonna be wild. I don't think it's Yeah, I think then the question then is going to be is, will at some point are the Bengals going to trade like getting rid of guys that have been tied to the Lions
And
before,
the
and
Lions, the
yeah,
talk. It's gonna be
yeah,
Hendrickson.
yes, Hendricks, right? So yeah, I think it's gonna be an ass whooping. So
Hey, don't let
I-
just Hendrickson can jump on the plane back to Detroit
he
after the game.
definitely
Just
could.
hey, get
Yeah.
everybody. All the I would assume the GMs will be there. Just go ahead,
hmm
hammer out the deal,
But
and bring him back.
but do you think the Lions are? I know that was the talk of the offseason. Are they a pass rusher away from
Yeah,
being a
so
Super
we talked
Bowl?
about this,
We could.
like, yeah, we talked about this, like, hey, maybe they didn't get Darius Smith because they wanted to wait until the deadline and see. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's another position they're going to need more, and they
Yep.
can use those resources to shore up a different position that maybe gets hit with injuries. And it's looking like that position is going to be corner. We saw
Yeah.
DJ Reed is on IR.
Yeah.
Who knows how long that's going to take. I think that it's at least 4 weeks, but you imagine probably it's going to be longer than that. So, and corner was already before the injury a little, kind of a position. It felt like that might be the one weak link on the team,
Mm-hmm.
was the cornerback position. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of position they focus on when we get towards the trade deadline. But still, obviously, a lot of season to play until then. But yeah, you mentioned Detroit fans taking over Cincinnati. If you guys watched the Thursday night game, the Rams and 49ers were the 49ers. It looked like a 49ers home game. I mean, just straight up looked like 49ers home game.
Like we've complained a little bit because we're boomers about the state of college football. The NFL, I hate it too, man. Like I remember growing up when the Rams started in LA, and then when they moved, it bothered me. And now I got bothered that they moved back. But like, look at it. Like that, the Chargers should still be in San Diego, right? The Rams should still be in St. Louis. LA, like it's like a home team for the visitor whenever teams go to play the LA teams, which is
Yeah.
just mind-boggling. Like that's
Yeah, because
crazy.
it's a
Just
vacation. I mean,
it
if
is. It's
the road
sure.
fan bases, I mean, San Francisco, it's because it's a short trip. They just take
Sure.
over. But for other
But
fan bases, it's a
but you've
vacation. You can
seen
go out to LA, you plan it out for a year.
but
You go
whenever
out to
this
LA, you can
yeah.
do your whole trip, and you get to go to you see your team play.
Yeah. Well, whenever the Steelers, I can't remember who they played last year, Chargers or the Rams, but like the terrible towels are out in LA. I'm like, oh my
Oh
lord.
yeah,
Like, what do we do? Like, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, for sure. But it's gonna be like that in Cincinnati today. It's gonna be a lot of blue, which is
it's gonna
pretty
be a
cool.
lot of,
Which
and
is good.
the blue stands out so much
It
in
does.
comparison
Yes.
to the orange.
It
So
surely
if you remember,
does.
what's funny? Oh my god. Okay, so go back to I don't know why this was popping in my head, but like 20 years ago when they did the Million Man March, you
I
remember that?
remember.
It
Oh,
was
I do. It
against
was against
Cincinnati,
Cincinnati. I
and
remember.
Chad Johnson dominated in that game.
Yeah,
But fans showed up in orange
I remember.
to Ford
Yeah.
Field
Yeah.
just to as a protest against what was going on and Millen
Yeah.
being there for so long. Everything, it was just the worst of the worst
That was
of the Lions franchise. But now you come full circle, and now the
mm,
Lions are going in Cincinnati, and it's a totally just a
that's pretty cool.
completely different feel for this franchise and what they're doing, and the confidence and management, and just the incredible team that they have. And now they're going into Cincinnati, and they're going to take over the Cincinnati Stadium, and it's going to be all blue.
You mean
It's awesome.
there's nothing worse than going 0-16? When you said the worst of the worst, what do you mean?
Well, that's a part. I
Uh,
still consider that part of the Millen, the
of
Millen
course it
era.
was. Yes, of course it was.
Just awful.
Yeah, so bad.
But man,
Yeah.
have come a long way since those days, Brian. This weekend, with what the Tigers did last night and what we got going on today with the
Mhm.
Lions looking like they're going to have a blowout in Cincinnati. It's going to feel like a home game in Cincinnati. And then
Mhm.
you follow that up with Scoopel trying to put the Tigers up 2-0 in the ALDS. What a time to be a Detroit
I,
sports fan.
and then we're up against it, but like, maybe the next couple of days we can have a conversation about the state of Michigan and Michigan State yesterday. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I know one won and one lost. I wasn't impressed with either of them.
No,
And that's a
no.
going against Michigan and going against a backup quarterback in a program. We talked about Luke Fickle and the mess that they're going through. Like, and off of bye week, you're thinking, all right, that should be a little bit better. And then Michigan State, as sloppy as can be. I mean, there's a lot for us to talk about.
Yeah.
If we
So I'll
if
go
we
ahead and
want if we get to it.
mention with everybody that's watching right now, and I'll put it out on the Facebook page and everything. But our plan, Brian and I's plan going
Mhm.
forward is Sundays to be this show, the Inside the Coach's Office. We'll talk a lot about Detroit sports, like we've done the past few weeks, and then going forward, we plan on bringing some guests and kind of getting back to a
Mhm.
little bit more of the traditional format of what the show was, and bring some coaches on to kind of talk about more X's and O's and kind of giving you a look like inside the game of, you know, how things are done, how a scheme is put together, how practices are run, things like that. In addition to what we're talking about with Detroit sports. And then on Thursdays, we're going to bring back the College Football Retro Show, which Brian and I had started a couple months ago and had gotten going. Had to take a break. Life kind of got in the way for both of us. We had to take a break from it, but we're going to get that going again weekly, every Thursday night. And kind of an addition section at the end of the show, we'll talk some, you know, college football, current day college football. So that's kind of our plan going forward, Brian. Probably every Sunday, I would say Sunday at 8, as long as there's not, you know, a Lions or Tigers game going on, and then Thursday nights at 8. That'll be the schedule. If we got to make an adjustment, we'll make an adjustment, let you guys know. But that's the plan going forward.
A lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right. So for Brian Barnes, I'm Dan Murphy. That's been another edition of Inside the Coach's Office. And again, next Thursday, catch us for the College Football Retro Show. All right. We'll see you guys. Have a good one.